All right. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Kingdom of the Kael Isles. And this is going to be our final episode. Um, uh, we ran into some issues, and unfortunately, we just the campaign's been going for over 4 years, and it's just gotten to the point where it needs to end. And luckily for us, we're able to give a little bit of closure to the characters themselves and this particular campaign. So that's what this episode's going to be. Um, yeah, without any further ado, to just kind of tie up everything that's been going on. Obviously, uh, excuse me. So, most recently, Willow had been kidnapped, and but before they were able to really kind of finish the kidnapping, she was able to escape, and she was in this lost dwarven city. And Fade and Abok had some issues with guards and everything. Um, through the magic of storytelling, um, we're just going to kind of fast forward through all that to the point where, through uh, their own ability to negotiate and figure out the problems, they were able to not only deal with the animosity they had with the gnomes and dwarves, but Willow was able to escape from the dwarven city, and giving the gnomes and dwarves the information that she had learned just before the kidnapping. Uh, they were able to start developing a dialogue between the lost dwarven city and these refugees. Um, and after that, through many other adventures and dealing with the dragons and everything, and eventually going through the Shadowfell and to Elysium, where the throne of the Dark Lady is. They were able to bring the Dark Lady back to her deity uh, um, status, thus kind of fulfilling the goal that Faded had for quite a while. So, um, after going to Elysium and reascending this goddess, um, we'll start with Fade. Fade, what did Fade do after bringing his god back?
Uh, Making sure that it was okay that he could leave and maintain his existence for whatever life he has left, not really knowing. The Eladrin previously being very short lived, single lifespan, now having a long time to possibly grow and thrive and develop. He would do his best to remove himself from the political structure that was forming around the Isles, like trying to not be in charge of anything and actually endorsing, if that's even a thing, the the Feywild, the Verdant Empire, as kind of maybe having a foothold here on this plane as well, and using their resources to help rebuild here. Um, and after some time spending as much time as he could with the group before they kind of did their own thing, he'd take Willow and try to explain everything that had happened and see what she says, and if that goes well, we'll spend some time together. And then after that, kind of says goodbye to Avok. Doesn't really know where they're going to end up, but they got kind of thrown in to all this shit together, and now kind of get thrown out. So he kind of like just gives them the old hero handshake and says, "Good luck. Call me if you need me. I'll be around for a while, I think." He walks with Kata and thanks her for showing him a whole other side to what being good can be, because he didn't have that when he was brought up with the legends being in charge. So seeing a whole new perspective was pretty big for him. So he gives her a hug if she lets him, and says, "You know how to get in touch with me if you need to. If I can help, I will." And then he goes off and tries to make amends with Willow. And then whether or not that works, like one of the last things he does is develop his clerical powers and eventually learns the spell Resurrection and goes on a bit of a field trip hunting down Willow's daughter, doing some research and seeing where she was laid to rest, and makes a deal with the Dark Lady, saying, "Whatever time I've got left, let me trade it for this little one who was robbed. I'm working for you forever, so why not get ahead of the curve, and we'll get started now." So if the Dark Lady accepts that, then that's kind of how Fade peace out.
Just remembered I muted my mic. So yeah, um, yeah. Avok.
So, after all the fighting, like non-stop fighting, just since he was young, and now he really has no reason to fight anymore, Avok, I guess, essentially goes into retirement. Tries to enjoy a life without battle, which is difficult for someone like him. Um, I think to help him get used to, well, I mean, just to get it all out, get the fighting out of the system, he decides to make a little home on Corin's Island and kill some undead here and there. And I guess in that time span, there is the thought of his parents in Ordonier. So he does make his way there. Learns that his father had passed not too long ago. His mother is still alive, but I would say by the time he finds her, she is very ill. And yeah, just it's a short reunion, but it provided closure that Avok needed. And he also learned that the Eladrin, who was pretty much in charge of his group in his backstory, was still alive. He confronted him, but he chose not to kill him, just to pretty much warn him that if he returns to the old Eladrin ways, he's not gonna. Yeah, pretty much like if the same if history repeats itself, Avok is gonna take him down. And after that, with regards to Sonia, given that she has become a servant to the Emerald Dragon, I would say Avok meets with her one last time, says goodbye, and that's really it. There's nothing much else with that.
I try to.
Cool, cool, cool. Kata.
Okay, uh, uh, somewhere along the lines of the uh, adventure to get the dark way back, we would probably run into where Kata's human family was and like overthrow the nobles that were holding her, hold, holding them pretty much as slaves. And after everything's said and done, she goes back to their old base. Suddenly holds her solo memorial for Mama Cheetah because she knows she's pretty much dead. And then she has to be transported to the Vernon Empire. She'll, being a long-lived druid, she'll be defending the Feywild as long as life will allow her.
Cool. And finally, Willow.
So Willow spends some time looking into anything she can find about the muses, spending time in the little shrine that she found, looking into whatever writings can be found anywhere and trying to figure out how she can use whatever she was and is to begin this process of rebuilding the world that she's known for her life. I don't know where that leads her specifically, but I think the intent for her is to start actively doing good, a thing that she felt that for most of her life until she met this group of people, she hadn't been doing. She'd been more passive and learning for learning's sake rather than learning for action. She seeks out and finds Melody, the woman who kind of helped raise her and was her oldest friend, and helps her, as I know she was trapped somewhere, helps her get back, goes back to the Platinum City, and helps her rebuild her home. Definitely spends time with Fade. Tries to dissuade him of his foolish romantic notions. I gather probably is unsuccessful. And is resistant at first to the idea of bringing her daughter back, but ultimately doesn't turn that down and doesn't turn down the chance of starting again. And I think ultimately she and her daughter Elwyn and Melody rebuild the tavern and have a quiet life there, trying to put some good back into the world.
Awesome. So, thus, the sun sets on the kingdom of the Kael Isles. As a personal note, I started writing this campaign setting at least 6 or 7 years ago. Started with a group that used to play in my apartment, and the group fell apart, and I was never able to uh, revisit that world until you guys came along, and now not only are the
We
Kale Isles
repeated history.
No, not really. This was a 4-year long campaign. That's incredible. And not only is the Kale Isles a real thing, but you know, I got to design the outer planes, a couple other continents, other planes of existence. Like this whole world wouldn't exist without you guys. So thank you so much for all the time and effort that you guys put into this game. For some of you for a full 4 years. Um, and yeah, to anyone that's been watching on and off throughout these 4 years, thank you for joining us on our story, and thanks for letting me, do weird stuff, uh, every other week. And yeah, I hope everyone uh, has a blast with whatever they do next. That's all for me. Um, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. All right. Bye bye.
Bye.